Which ones are healers? Unfortunately, only Shadowheart. Will might be able to heal. But there's also potions and food. Like, between battles, we can heal fairly easily because we have short rests. It's just in battle healing would be from Shadowheart. But I'm not going to say in this that healers are critical. Like, 5th edition, there are lots of different ways of healing. For example, the fighter Lae'zel can heal herself. And Gale has shields he can bring up, so he doesn't necessarily need healing either. Any news from Minsk and Boo? Not yet. I am wondering if some of those characters make an appearance or not. Really? Thanks for noticing.
It was an observation, not a compliment. No matter. I do not intend to stay long in this place.
How do you know so much about Mind Flayers?
I understand much beyond your comprehension. More to the point, I know the cure for our condition. It is imperative we locate a creche. You do well to observe more and question less.
I have a feeling that 2 would be pushing her. And we already know what she wants to do next, so we're just going to leave. Okay, so these are the 5 characters which are available. Again, this is going to be a poll for which character you like the most and which you would like to see in the party. That's going to be both from a personality standpoint and an ability standpoint. So, just to give you an overview, we have got Shadowheart, who is a cleric. She is not a healing cleric, however, she is a cleric of Trickster, which means that she has a couple more support options and a couple more like deception options, but she's not an out-and-out healer at all, but she can heal. Then we've got Will, who is a warlock. He's a warlock of the Fiend, which means he has lots of fire magic. Warlocks are kind of pseudo-mages, pseudo-fighters, and he definitely seems to be leaning a bit more towards the fightiness, seeing as he's a bit of a swordsman. So he could be a bit of a tank, he could also be damage, he could also be range support. Warlocks are very versatile. Then we've got Gale, who is a Abjurer wizard. Abjurers are like defensive mages, so he can like bring up shields, he can defend other members of the party, he can do lots of defensive magic-y stuff. But he's still a wizard, so he's still going to have a lot of the offensive capabilities, although we are going to be better at that ourselves. Then we've got Astarion. He seems to be just an out-and-out rogue, just complete rogue. Rogues are great for damage dealing, they're also useful to have for lockpicking and the like, though others can do that too. It's just a dexterity thing. And I think Will might have high dexterity because he is using a dexterity weapon. So Will might also be able to pick locks, just nowhere near as effectively as Astarion is going to be able to do that. And Astarion's also going to be very good at stealth. Everyone can stealth, he's just going to be best at it. Then we've got Lae'zel. She is a fighter. I don't think she's got a subclass yet, so I am hoping she can become a Blade Master. As a fighter, she's tough, she can tank a lot of damage, she can do a lot of damage. Fighters are just all round really good, but they can't heal, they can't support other party members particularly. They're kind of do their own thing. But she'd be a fairly useful tank, although that being said, I'm a tank, Gale could be a tank, Will could be a tank. Shadowheart, to an extent, could be a tank, though she's not going to be great at that. In fact, Gale could even be a tank as well. Everyone except Astarion. So they all have different roles they can take, and they all have different ways they can build. That's one of the things I love about 5th edition. You can be pretty flexible about what you do as your party. So those are the 5. Do all companions gain experience even though they stay in this campsite? Yes. But again, it's not necessarily going to be true for this, because in Chapter 1 I think you can change characters fairly freely, but that will get locked about a third of the way into the game. Just like in Divinity. So this choice will matter. Okay, poll is going up. So again, Shadowheart, Cleric, Will, the Warlock. I can actually fit that in, hang on. Gale is Wizard, Astarion is a Rogue, and Lae'zel is a Fighter. Okay, there is your poll. Unfortunately, it's just top choice. It's not which choices you would like to see in the party. Like top 3 probably would have been more useful. But these are your options. So vote, vote, vote. Get your votes in. This vote matters. And it's at the top of the chat. Over there. Tagel, thank you very much for the Prime subscription. Welcome to the Maudlings. Good to have you joining us. So what happens once you don't pick a third of the way through the game? Don't know yet. Haven't got that far. Can people get driven off if you do things consistently against their ethics like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2? Probably. In fact, almost certainly. And considering how pissed off Astarion already seems with us, for example. This is a really interesting vote. I'm not that surprised that not many people are going for Gale, because he is another wizard and we are a wizard ourselves. Which is unfortunate, because he's got one of the best personalities. It's actually one of the reasons I chose to play as a cleric, because I foresaw this happening. But yeah, the other four. Actually pretty close. Like, every vote is going to matter. And I'm not seeing this being manipulated very heavily. This seems to be a fairly good, just raw vote. Remember, the top 3 get into the party. No love for Gale, even though he's probably the most aligned to the dwarf. Gale, at the moment, is definitely the most outwardly good character. Possibly with Will. Will is as well. Like, we haven't seen very much of him, but his background is folk hero. Okay, so in last place, definitely not being used with only 2% of the vote, is poor old Gale. Gale is awesome, but he is another wizard, and it is a bit difficult, I must admit, to justify having a second wizard in the party. Wilhelm contributed 1,000 bits. Okay, so it was manipulated. Thank you very much for that, Wilhelm. And then Anthrax contributed 5,000 channel bits. So thank you as well for that. So it was the bit manipulation that was the main thing. So we've got Lae'zel coming in 4th place. So Lae'zel is also out of the running, meaning that the party will be Shadowheart, Will, and Astarion. I'm a little bit surprised. I actually kind of expected Lae'zel would have come second after Shadowheart. Like, everyone loves Shadowheart just because she's a female cleric. So, yeah, okay. Shadowheart, Will, Astarion. I'm surprised that Astarion came 3rd. So, Shadowheart.
What do you want? All right. Some company wouldn't hurt on the road, especially if there's trouble.
Does it actually say what domain she is yet? I don't think it does, so again, spoilers. I did see it popping up earlier, and I don't want to know that. Yeah, see, it just says trickery. It doesn't say... Oh no, Cleric of Shar. Okay. Shar is the goddess of darkness, secrets, and loss, forever in conflict with her twin sister, Saloon. Shar's clerics poison the world with fear and suffering while stealing forbidden knowledge in her name. Oh yeah, I know that she's trickery domain. I didn't know that it said her faith, her religion, but it does. I thought that was being hidden. Yeah, I thought she might be Shar. I knew she was a cleric of darkness just because of her crest. Then who was the other one? Astarion and Will.
What do you need now? Darling, I thought you'd never ask. Lead on.
And then Will.
Well met.
Ah, that's the spirit.
I think she mentioned Shar in some of her dialogue. She has not mentioned it yet, because I read everything pretty pretty closely, and she has not mentioned it yet. Alright, well, that's the party. So we're going to do a save now. I wish there was a proper, party selection screen. Unfortunately, there isn't. You have to do it this way. And as soon as you rest, you're just thrown back into the world.
Remember, you have teeth and claws. Use them.
Okay, so this is the team. So we have got Will, that we need to level up, because he is a level 2 now. He is going to get Hex. Okay, Eldritch Invocations. So Eldritch Invocations are basically a way of customizing the class to fight in the way that you want him to fight. Before we do that, let's just take another quick look at the party.
Can we stop shouting?
So who is actually... Am I going to be the tank? I have the most hit points, and once we're armoured, I'll probably have the highest armour class.
Any questions, children?
Although I am not there yet. Astarion and Shadowheart are both 14 AC, but they both have fairly few hit points. Will may actually have the most, because remember he's a level lower than us right now. I think he's going to have 20. So no, Will is probably going to be our tank. Shadow can tank, but you may not necessarily want your cleric tanking, because if she dies, then nobody can heal. But yes, Shadow probably can tank. I would say that she's probably a secondary tank.
Calm down.
So I would say that our front line is most likely going to be Will with this composition.
You're going to get us killed.
Or me. I can also tank, though. Remember, I'm an evoker. Which actually might work, because my party is immune to my AoEs. So I can run in and just Thunderwave. Kaboom. And if I get myself a sword and board, then my armor class is going to be pretty decent. In fact, do we have a spare? I have a hand axe, which I can use. We haven't seen any other swords yet, unfortunately. Sorry, any other shields yet, unfortunately. Though we might be able to buy one, because there is a trader up here. Let's go and stand next to the trader. I'm going to see if I can buy a shield.
We don't even know these people.
Refugees, adventurers, no one in years, and suddenly we're overwhelmed. Well met, and thank you for beating back those goblins. Most brave of you. Is there anything you need? Act fast if you do. The ritual will be complete before too long.
Are you really locking down the grove, or what are you selling?
I know it's drastic, but more monsters seem to terrorize this region every day.
What about the people here?
We druids will be safe. As for those that took refuge here, well, may Sylvanas guard them as they continue their travels.
You just said the region's overrun by monsters. They won't survive by themselves. Dire times, high stakes. I understand. Seems like they're tieflings. They'll be fine. They have devilish powers. What do we think? What are we going to say? Astarion's the same level, yeah. Again, Twitch interaction. It's up there. You can click on it yourself. And that's what the percentages next to the name, next to the numbers mean. That's the integration saying, "Hey, this is what chat said." And chat has said, "You said the region's overrun by monsters. They won't survive by themselves."
As I said, it's a drastic measure, but the survival of the grove is paramount. There just aren't enough supplies to support everyone.
And what are you selling?
Just some bits and bobs I no longer need.
Okay, so I want to go over to you. You don't have any shields. You do have a helmet. Costs 100 gold though, it's a bit pricey. You'd have some leather armor, but I think we're already kitted out in leather armor. So you have nothing that we really need. What you do have is space for us to sell. Hand axe I'm going to keep. Great axe. Actually, no, I can use the battle axe. It's versatile, isn't it? Yeah, I'll use the battle axe. I don't need a two-hander. In fact, I'd prefer not to have a two-hander. Before I... No, I don't have that proficiency. We can sell the necklace. We can sell the ring. I'm going to keep the gems, because sometimes you can use gems for other things. So balance that out. Pay me. Keep the quarter staff for now.
Sylvanas, guide your path.
Great axe for Lae'zel. She's not in the party.
You're going to get us killed.
And then we also have the Gloves of Power. Blessed by the Priestess Gut. These gauntlets aid any who bear the Absolute's mark upon their flesh, but woe any non-believer who hopes to steal their power. Where against Absolute's Bane, creatures hit by an attack may receive D4 penalty to attack rolls and saving throws. And the one who's kind of doing the most attacking is actually going to be Astarion, because he is our DPS. So I'm going to give those to him. And yeah, we probably do have stuff in the backpack still. Alright, so now that we know, and somebody in chat was saying earlier that we don't have a dedicated tank, but everyone can kind of do it. So maybe we want to build Will along those lines rather than saying you're going to go all out tanking. So we've got Agonizing Blast, which adds your charisma modifier to the damage done by Eldritch Blast. And Eldritch Blast is like his main ranged attack. He doesn't need a bow, he does this, kind of like the wizards. And Eldritch Blast is actually the most damaging cantrip in the game. So this just makes that even stronger. And he has a charisma modifier of +3. So that's going to mean +3 damage every time he uses it, which is pretty nice. Armor of Shadows, you can cast Mage Armor on yourself at will without expending a spell slot. That's not as useful because Warlocks get light armor by default, right? I think that's more useful for... maybe the Fiend gets that. I've only really looked at Warlocks of the Tome, and unfortunately they're not in the game. Fiend doesn't seem to give anything. Light armor proficiency, simple weapon proficiency. So he can wear light armor, which is basically what mage armor would do.
You're going to get us killed.
So not very useful. Are you already in leather? You're in padded. So are you. The only one who's in leather armor is me. +2 to your armor class for free is huge though, right? I think you're not allowed to wear armor while using it. So the fact that he can wear light armor is already removing that. The +2 for free is from shields and from Shield of Faith. It works differently. So yeah, because he's already wearing armor, mage armor is not very useful. Beast speech means that you can speak to animals. And we don't have a ranger or anything, so that could be useful. And I know that Larian likes making animals who can talk. So beach speech might actually be quite good for that. See you, Cleaners. Beguiling Influence, you invoke your patron's bewitching charm, you gain proficiency in deception and persuasion. Midgeman, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome to the stream. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? I know you were playing Baldur's Gate earlier, so how's your game going? And just for those of you joining us, please no spoilers, because Midge is almost certainly further ahead than I am. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, launch the longboat. Stop the raiders. Huzzah! Unsung D coming in with a 20-month resub. Thank you very much for that, Unsung. Very much appreciate it. 20 months. Huzzah! Thank you. So, beguiling speech. That means we gain proficiency in deception and persuasion. Your charisma is actually the highest in the party. Did I go for a charisma build? I know I went for a constitution build.
Down. Please.
What are my own stats again?
We won't leave them behind.
I have a 14 charisma, so Will is actually the highest charisma. So maybe we want him talking. Good, thank you. My little purple man did well, but I must go. Have a nice day. See you, Mitch. So, possibly having him be the talker is a good idea. So, Beguiling Influence could be good for that, because we gain proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. Oh, you know what? I should check if he's already got those. Because his background may add it.
We don't even know these people.
That doesn't matter.
His Deception is a +3, his Persuasion is a +3, so no, he does not have the skill, otherwise it would be a +5 like Intimidation. Where he does have it, so he already can Intimidate. So having Deception and Persuasion would make him our main talker. Because I don't have Deception, I don't have Persuasion. Yeah, so Will should definitely be the main talker. So actually him having Beguiling Influence would be a really good idea. Devil's Sight, you can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical. I have the light cantrip, so it's irrelevant. Fiendish Vigour can cast False Life on yourself at will as a first level spell, without expanding a spell slot. Problem with that is it's literally as a first level spell, you can't up its level. At least that's how I am reading this, which means it's only ever 5 hit points. It does not scale. Mask of Many Faces, you can cast Disguise Self at will without expanding a spell slot. I don't tend to do much deception-y, roguey stuff, so probably not. Repelling Blast. When you hit a creature with an Eldritch Blast, you push the creature back. I mean, he's kind of being trained for close combat, so again, not that useful. Once per long rest, you can cast Bane using a Warlock spell slot. So that's just giving you an extra spell. And Bane, you're very limited in spell slots as is. So I'm going to say Agonizing Blast for sure. Then the choice is going to be between Beast Speech, Beguiling Influence. Just those two, in fact. In fact, I'm going to take that one off. So this is going to be Agonizing Blast. Bearing in mind, we have great ranged attack already. We have a Wizard who does a lot of damage, and we have the Rogue who does a lot of sneak attack damage, so we don't necessarily need him to do range attack. So this is, yeah, it's still going to be between those three. So I'm going to do a poll of those three, and then the top two will be the ones we choose. So Agonizing Blast, Beast Speech, and then Beguiling Influence. And it's just occurred to me, actually, if we have Beast Speech and Beguiling Influence, then we can really talk down animals as well. Like, really manipulate animals. Possibly, if we need to deceive them or whatever. So, those are the three choices. We'll just call that. Make this a 1 minute vote. So, Agonizing Blast, Beast Speech, Beguiling Influence. Top two on the vote is what we're picking. So, AB is just combat. And like I said, we have other people who can do that too. Beast Speech will allow us to talk to animals. Whether that's useful or not is up to you. And then Beguiling Influence probably is the most useful of those three, because it means that he's definitely going to be our main spokesperson. Beast and Beguiling seems like a lot of utility. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Which is a really interesting choice, because in my single player game I just immediately went Agonizing Blast. But now that I've realised that Warlocks are charisma based, I'd completely forgotten that Warlocks are charisma based, just like Sorcerers are. Huzzah! And Bards. Magic Moog, thank you very much for the Prime subscription. Welcome back to the Modelling 6-month resub. Thank you. Okay, so the votes are in. Agonizing Blast came in last with only 7% of the vote. Frost Gamalali came in with 3,000 channel points. Thank you for that. So Beast Speech came in first, then Beguiling Influence. So 54 and 39% respectively. So Beast Speech and Beguiling Influence. So he is definitely the talker. Okay, next up, spells. And also we can replace a spell if we want to. What does he have? So right now we've got Armour of Agathis. Spectral Frost covers you, gain 5 temporary hit points and deal 5 cold damage to anyone that hits you with a melee attack. So that's already quite tanky. And then the Arms of Hadar. Call forth tendrils of dark energy. Targets take 2d6 necrotic and can't take a reaction. So Arms of Hadar is actually a way of escaping if you need to, because if they can't react, they can't get an attack of opportunity off. Then we have Burning Hands, which you don't really need because we have a wizard who does that. Charm Person. Possibly? It would give us advantage on charisma checks against them. And they can't harm the charmer. Not necessarily very good for a tank, though. Command would just stop them. Expeditious Retreat means that dash becomes a bonus action like on the rogue. So we can bonus action away. Hellish Rebuke. Next time you take damage, you do 2d10 damage. So Hellish Rebuke plus Armour of Agathis means that he would do a ton of damage whenever he gets hit. Though I kind of prefer he just didn't get hit. Hex. Curse a creature to deal additional 1d6 necrotic damage whenever you hit it with an attack. Now I don't know if that's just when he hits them or when the party hits them. It also requires concentration. If you're being hit, concentration can be broken. Armour of Agathis is not concentration, neither is Hellish Rebuke. And then Protection from Evil and Good. Target can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed. And when they do attack, they do so with disadvantage. So that would increase his tanking ability against aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. And then Witch Bolt, which we have seen before because the wizards have it. It says just you for Hex. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, we've already got the Arms of Hadar. These are the two that we have. We can switch one of them out for something else. But the first choice that we really need to make is what spell to take. And I don't think it should be Hex. Just the caster. Yeah, so I'm thinking Hellish Rebuke? To do the 2d10 fire damage. I mean, that is a massive amount of damage, but it does require him to be hit. Or we could go for a protection from good and evil, which makes him a little bit tankier against aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. Or we could go for a bit more damage with Burning Hands or Witch Bolt. Witch Bolt uses his action, though. I'd rather keep the actions free. Yeah, I think that Hellish Rebuke is going to be the one. So he's going to have Hellish Rebuke and Armour of Agathis. Now, do we want to replace any of these spells? Not really. I think those are strong choices. You can only do that when you level up, though. We don't have Shocking Grasp. No. And actually, I'm kicking myself for not taking that with the Dwarf. I really wish there was a way of changing cantrips. I don't know why in 5th edition you can't. It's such a weird thing. It's like, yeah, these are the most basic spells that basically any wizard will learn. So you can never, ever change them. Ever. So I always house rule it that you can change cantrips whenever the hell you want. Well, whenever you can normally prepare spells.
I won't leave them behind.
Does Rebuke have a stun? No.
You're going to get us killed.
So, Will actually only has 17 hit points. So he did not get as many as I thought he might. You're going to go second in line, and then you two are going to be the back line. I still need to get myself a shield from somewhere. Now, backpacks. Let's do some inventory sorting, because I kind of need to. Ornate chest, nothing in it. It's heavy though is the only problem. Reliquary, nothing. Reliquary, rather. Backpack. Has... oh, right. That's all of the food items.
That doesn't matter.
That has nothing in it.
Of course it does. You would choose strangers over us.
That's not what I said.
Can we stop shouting?
So you've got some items that can be sold. You've got some items that can be sold. And those should be given to Will, because Will's now... oops. The main talky dude. And I believe that... actually, I don't think that bargaining is a thing in this game. That's 2 torches. Who's going to get the other one? Shadowheart can have it. Oh no, she's a cleric of darkness. I don't think she'd appreciate carrying a torch around. Oh, and I have a candle. Steal the cleric's shield. You know, I've been tempted by that. And we definitely could. I think we'll just wait until one drops somewhere.
Calm down.
Okay, that has all the scrolls in it.
I won't leave them behind.
You're going to get us killed.
Cool.
Refugees, well met. Is there anything you need? Just some bits and bobs I no longer need.
So, going over to Will, selling these items. Oh, not the torch. Give me money. Yeah, it's a real shame that he doesn't have a shield.
Sylvanas, guide your path.
That doesn't matter.
Okay, and then it was already voted that we are not going to stay here. We are instead going to go to the ruins. Right? Pretty sure it was the ruins. Yeah, it was the ruins. So off we go. The place that none of the party want to go right now. Sylvanas is the god of rangers and druids. Goddess of the wild. Okay, so we've got all of our spells. I think I'm going to have you cast Shield of Faith on yourself now. It's a concentration spell, it lasts all day. I'm wondering if Armour of Agathis does the same for you.